Welcome back to Edwin Eisendrath's It's the Democracy, Stupid on WCPT 820.
All right, everybody. I am thrilled to be joined by Betsy Hodges. She served as the 47th, I think, mayor of now besieged Minneapolis, and has a perspective that I really want to spend a moment to understand. Mayor, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me and for giving consideration to what's happening right now. I appreciate it.
I have to say, I felt this about Chicago, but you have to be both heartbroken and incredibly proud of your city.
Yes, and add to that a significant dose of fury as well.
Yes, and very angry.
About what the federal government is attempting to do here. Minneapolis is ground zero for what they're attempting to do, but they want to connect to the entire country. But indeed, deeply, deeply proud of the people of Minneapolis. Not surprised. I know it seems surprising to lots of people, but when you know Minneapolis, coming together like this is just what Minneapolis does. You know, that old poem, they came for my neighbor, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Minneapolis, they came for my neighbor and I said, F you, that's my neighbor.
Yeah. I get this sense that we want to protect each other, for sure. I saw that here too, and you guys are doing it unbelievably. But I get a sense of something else as well, and that is that Americans, yes, we want to protect our neighbors, but we also don't want to be pushed around. We don't want, somebody's thugs coming in and telling us where to stand and what to think and what to wear and where to drive and who to take a picture of. And if they try, 100 more of us are going to show up, and then 1,000 more of us are going to show up. Am I right about that?
You are absolutely right about that. I don't want to undersell how much Midwesterners need to, know how to protect each other as neighbors. Yep. When you go through those kinds of winters together, you know how to band together.
Yep.
You really put your finger on something so important about Minnesota. Minnesota is the only state that had a helmet law for motorcyclists and then repealed it. It's the only state that put in, red light cameras and then repealed them. Minnesotans do not like to be told what to do. And this is nothing if not, Trump trying to get Americans who disagree with him to bend a knee. And he's just using the tools of racism and state-sanctioned violence to try and do it. But over and over, they just say, no, thank you.
No. I don't think he's going to. I just don't, fascist takeovers have worked, but they're not going to win the hearts and minds of Americans. Not a chance.
No. And the thing is, these authoritarian takeovers, I was with a bunch of mayors this week and, talking to a whole bunch of people who've worked with cities and around cities and in countries around the world. And, oftentimes, sometimes they're military, sometimes they're violent coups. And, Trump is trying that set of strategies a lot of places around the country, Minnesota, most notably right now. But mostly they come through constitutional crises, right? Yes. They come through that kind of takeover. And he is certainly pursuing that on a parallel track.
You've talked a little bit in social media about how the authoritarian playbook is sort of designed to confuse us.
Yes.
And, so talk about that a little bit, because as I see it in your city, people are less confused by the day.
Right. I don't think people in Minneapolis are confused about what's going on, but I think people in the rest of the country are confused about what's going on, or maybe confused isn't the word, but it's a little mystifying to have this, the dual strategy that Viktor Frankl talked about. Authoritarianism is happening in Minneapolis, but it's not happening where I live. And so that dissonance is really hard to wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for people to wrap their minds around, and that is part of it. The authoritarian playbook has many entries about how to confuse people and get them to stop trusting themselves.
Yeah.
Right? We can all see with our own eyes what happened both to Renee Good and to Alex Preddy. We can see that they were executed in the street, but the lies keep being told that no, they didn't, and they were agitators and they were armed or violent or whatever it is the lies are. And as Mikel Jolet, the writer and musician, has pointed out, he was raised in a cult, and he wrote a book about it. He said, Trump doesn't need people to believe his lies. He doesn't need his followers to believe his lies. He just needs his followers to repeat them, because that aura of confusion creates a lot of space for him to maneuver.
Yeah. I mean, I think about in 1941, Paris was a lovely city.
Yes.
Right. People went on to the opera. They had a fine time. And most of them didn't notice that they were occupied. I mean, they may have noticed, but life went on, that they were, hunting down any Jews they could find, or anybody who opposed the regime was just getting hunted and disappeared. I think the prevalence of citizens who are holding our government to account by bringing their phones is making that harder to do.
Much harder. The fact that there are multiple viewpoints of evidence showing what happened, not what happened to Alex Preddy, what agents did to Alex Preddy, that there are multiple views of that matter. It's one of the reasons I advocated for and implemented body-worn cameras on police officers here, because they show more what actually happened from more viewpoints, but it brings down excessive force complaints because officers use less excessive force, but also because people you make fewer false complaints.
Yeah.
You can just see what's happening. But the trick, what the Trump and his whole minions are doing is saying, well, I know you can see it with your own eyes, but what you see with your own eyes is not what you're seeing. What you're seeing is what I say you're seeing. And that is its own trick.
It's a trick, but increasingly Americans aren't buying it, thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, in part because we are starting to do what I just heard you do, and that is to use language properly, to say, it didn't happen to us on the streets. Somebody pulled the trigger.
Yes.
Donald Trump sent people here. And I think we are starting to understand who to blame for all of this, and it isn't us. It isn't us.
No. I mean, I will say this. Donald Trump has been very, very clear from the moment he started campaigning for president for the 2016 election. He's been very, very clear that this is what he wanted. He has made no bones about the fact that he has an authoritarian agenda, that he opposes all the people who disagree with him, that given his way, he would use lethal force against people who disagree with him. I mean, he's been clear. And so if there's anything that we can ask ourselves is, were we too slow on the uptake, many of us, to really understand that he meant what he was saying? It just seems so hard to believe in a functioning democracy that someone would say those things and they would have an impact. But, we are no longer, at the moment anyway, in a functioning democracy.
Yeah.
We're fighting to get back.
Yeah. So, and you've said two things. One, really, could we believe that he meant it? And I think people might have. But the other part is, even if he meant it, we have checks and balances, so he couldn't do it. And people didn't care that he meant it because people are angry about one thing or another, but they knew he couldn't get away with it. And that gets the democracy part. And those checks and balances have eroded to the point where he has gotten away with a lot of it. I mean, I think it was a Bush-appointed judge in Minneapolis who this week said that just in January he violated nearly 100 judicial orders. They're lawless.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are not following the rules. But if Congress is not willing or able to hold him to account, and if the judicial system is now spotty in its capacity to hold him to account, I mean, the pride of Mitch McConnell under the first Trump administration was that he rammed through so many judicial appointments.
Yep.
Right? So there are now so many Trump leaning judicial appointees willing to do his work, that it's not that the judicial system has fallen, but it does have some cracks in it that they are going to be exploiting as much as they can.
Some of those biggest cracks are at the top.
Yeah.
But again, people are amazing. You had in the midst of this crisis a special election, right? And somebody is running for state legislature. Now, a Democrat was going to win, but Meg Lugar Nicolai, I think is her name, won by more than 95% of the vote. I mean, that is like unheard of.
Yes. Yes. I think that bodes well for the midterms, that Democrats will come out and vote, which I think is why Trump is trying to find strategies to suspend them if he can. Mm-hmm. But absolutely. I mean, the people of Minnesota overall are, just exactly as you said, willing to come out, willing to fight, willing to say, no, you can't tell me what to do, and no, you can't tell my neighbor what to do. Mm-hmm. What I'm going to do is protect my neighbor while telling you, you can't tell me what to do.
So for a long time, there's been an urban-rural divide in America, in American politics, and that divide tracks partisan politics, Democratic, Republican politics. I see that eroding a little bit in this, maybe because Trump's treated farmers as badly as he's treated anybody else, but also because I don't see this moment anymore as a Democratic and Republican fight. Those are the actors in Washington, and you and I spend a lot of time in that world, so we think that way. But the public thinks of this as an America versus MAGA fight. It's not Democrats, Republicans anymore. It's something else, not quite as partisan. And that may give space for all those farmers who, after all, are pretty independent and self-reliant and don't like to be told what to do either, to say, hey, maybe I need to come home on this. And I mean, in your state, I ask you this because, after all, it's the Farmer Labor Party in your state. So talk a little bit about how this moment in Minneapolis is feeling in the rest of the state.
Well, just from afar, what I can see is you've hit on something crucial, because I do think there is a blurring of the line between urban and rural interest in what's happening right now. Mm-hmm. But I think embedded inside of that is a Republican Party divided against itself, meaning they built up a coalition, that was an assemblage of a whole bunch of different ideas, a whole bunch of different issues, social issues, fiscal issues, government size issues, whatever it is you want to say the Republican package holds. But there are Republicans who, as we were talking about, didn't quite believe Trump when he said what his agenda was, who then saw him behaving badly in this arena and that arena, but were willing to kind of turn away because he was supporting issues and policies and legislation that they support or that they wanted or saw beneficial for themselves or that they believed in. But now, many of those Republicans are people who still believe in the Constitution, and they still believe in their vision of what American democracy is. And the penny has dropped for them that is what is in danger right now. Yeah. That the democracy they believe in and care about is in danger. And there are still some of them who don't care as long as they can get what they need out of whatever rises from the rubble. Mm-hmm. But there are many genuinely good-hearted people with deeply held beliefs, and those beliefs are being violated by what's happening. Yeah. So I see that happening to suburban and rural Republicans. I hear that happening more and more. Calls for real government, not sham government. Yeah. And another one of these divides in America is the one that was always phony, but the right has done has spent so much money and so much time to tell us that God is on their side, that their preachers have been telling us what's right and wrong, and we're just the godless and don't care and the enemy of religion. And then in your city, preachers, ministers, priests, rabbis, imams, people from all over America of faith showed up in their clerical attire under their winter garb to say, yeah, you know what, you don't have a monopoly on that either. Right. And I'm willing, like Jesus was, I'm willing to be arrested. I'm willing to be apprehended and punished for standing up against the overreach of a state that is harming people with impunity. For the Christians anyway, Jesus said that.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
But other religions have other messages that are being affected by this behavior. And so yes, part of it is because when it might be MAGA versus other Americans or other Americans versus MAGA. But I also think MAGA folks might see it as MAGA versus infidels. And we are all infidels. And for the people in my life who are Donald Trump supporters to this very moment, who are defending him on my Facebook page or wherever, I don't block folks. I just tell them we disagree and I'm still fond of you, because that's what my faith tells me to do. Mm-hmm. That's what my faith tells me.
Mm-hmm. You spend a lot of time in your current work thinking about issues of race and issues of particular issues of whiteness in America. Yes. Like how do you think about that in this moment? I mean, I think Don Lemon, reported something in your city. Judge says don't arrest him. They go to LA and they arrest him. I think that says to me, Donald Trump's telling his base, we won't let a black man hold us accountable for anything ever. But there are other issues that it's more complicated than that. Talk about your sense of this moment, what you tell white liberals about thinking about this moment.
Well, there's two key things. One of them is Donald Trump is using the tools of racism, right? It doesn't matter if he carries bad feelings about people of color in his heart. What matters is what he's doing, and he's evoking these ideas of, as you said, we're not going to let a black man tell us what to do, or a gay man tell us what to do. And so the tools of racism are at play. He is hunting black and brown people, whether they have papers there or not, whether they, are here legally or not. They're just randomly kind of hunting brown and black. They start going after Native Americans and asking them to show papers. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's really insane. Yeah.
So that's one thing, right? And so for white people who don't believe racism exists, or who think that it's harder on white people than it is on people of color, those strategies are very effective. It's whatever. And the focus of my work is on white people who believe racism exists and think it's bad, because we have our own racial conditioning that gets kicked up right now. We think we need to know more in order to take action. Many of us, not all of us. I mean, clearly there are many of the people on the streets in Minnesota are white people.
Who gave their lives, yeah.
But around the country, right, one of the hallmarks of whiteness is I need to know more before I can I need to know more, and I need to feel like I'm ready. I need to feel like I'm ready to take action, and the only way to feel ready is to know more. And that's why there's so many book clubs and so many podcasts, and people read a lot and do a lot. But the trick of it is our racial conditioning also tells us we will never know enough to be ready. There's no possible way. We will never feel ready. If we wait to feel ready, we will be waiting forever as white liberal, as a white progressive. If we are waiting to feel ready to take action, we will be waiting until, the Constitution has been torn to shreds by Donald Trump. And so what we get to do is we get to say, I know enough to take some action right now. And then the next level is, but I don't know what to do, right? And I hear this from a lot of my friends of color. The white people are saying over and over, well, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Tell us what to do. And then if you tell us what to do, we still say we don't know what to do. I was just hearing, there was a mayor.
That's fair.
Mayor of color who was talking about this. That's part of this syndrome of I don't feel ready to take action. I can't, what you're telling me to do can't possibly be enough. And my exhortation to my white brothers and sisters and non-binary siblings, all out there, is do a Google search, find 10 things you can do, Pick the one that feels most possible. Get a friend, another white friend who feels the same way you do, and just go do it right now.
Yeah.
And don't wait to feel ready. And don't wait to feel like you're not scared. You're going to be scared. Don't wait to feel like you know enough. Don't wait until you're certain no one's going to get mad at you for doing it. Somebody might, and it's okay. Because what's at stake on the other side is even the hope
Everything.
of functioning democracy.
Everything, yeah. So that's so interesting, and it's a different way of thinking about something that I've thought about. For a long time, liberals, mostly white, but not only, outsourced all of our work to lawyers. We thought, oh, we live in a country where all the rules are good and we have rights and we can go to court and protect them. And that's been like our game since, 1960 something. And this older muscle that says social progress happens when you stand shoulder to shoulder with people and you say, we will not be put backwards. We have to go forwards. We didn't win labor rights through the courts. We didn't win civil rights really through the courts. They were important. We didn't win suffrage for women through the courts, even though it was important. Obergefell was important for gay marriage, but it happened after the country had changed its mind about these issues because people said, I'm out, I'm not hiding anymore. So what you're saying is there's this vestigial habit, you're not an expert. You want to let the experts do their thing and you just don't know enough, let the experts do it. And you're saying, I'm sorry, it's all hands here. This is your democracy, and that makes you responsible for you're expert enough to be responsible for this democracy. So do something. It gives them agency.
Yes, and I think that's part of the reason Donald Trump is targeting Black and brown people in this moment is because it will evoke sort of white liberal racial conditioning. Because yes, it is about the fight about democracy right now is exposing, re-exposing this underbelly of America's history, which has the oppression of people of color from our founding and before. And that is threaded through every struggle that has happened in this country. Every fight for rights for people, the expansion of rights for people has always had to grapple with race, always. And part of that white racial conditioning is also this belief that there is some set of racial equity skills that exist that we as white people just somehow don't have, and people of color somehow do have, and that we don't understand how to get these racial equity skills. And I am here to say, again, to my white siblings, there are no special racial equity.
Show up.
The skills we need to advocate for racial equity and racial justice are human skills. We get to reclaim our humanity by reclaiming these skills of compassion and empathy and critical thinking and strategizing and liking people and courage and bravery. All of those are just human skills. We get to reclaim our human skills in the area of race that our white conditioning is trying to extract from us, because if we had them fully functioning in the area of race, racism could not stand. The systems of race could not stand against the preponderance of white people saying, actually, this makes no sense to the human part of me. It only makes sense to the racial conditioning.
Yeah. I mean, these structures are deeply part of our lives. They're hard sometimes to see. But one of the great antidotes is humanity, and it helps us. It's inspiring listening to you. Hey, speaking of inspiring, what does it feel like to have Bruce Springsteen write you a love song?
Edwin, you may or may not know this. I'm actually on the board of advisors of the Springsteen Center for American Music.
I did not know that.
which is the home of Bruce's archives, and we're opening a big facility in New Jersey in June, and so I have this I chose my heroes well, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I chose my heroes well. And when I heard the song, and thank you to the 50 people in my life who sent it to me, all of whom know how much I love the music of Bruce Springsteen, it was a little strange to hear him say Nicolette, to talk about our streets. But it was also very beautiful to have him stand up so boldly on behalf of America by standing up so boldly on behalf of the people of Minneapolis, of the Twin Cities, and of the state of Minnesota. I am so grateful to Bruce Springsteen and his music for so many things in my life. But this is probably the cake topper on that very delicious, beautiful cake of gratitude I have.
Yeah, I bet. That's a pretty amazing thing. I mean, art has a great power in our lives. We longed for it after the crash in 2008, 6, 8, whenever that was. And instead of the artists in America giving us the Grapes of Wrath, they gave us Iron Man, Rich Man Saves the World, right? It was just and of course people were pissed off, love the movie, but like tell our stories. And, it's been a while since we've had Woody Guthrie, since we've had somebody who says to America, I'm walking in your shoes, and they're beautiful shoes. And that's what he did.
That's exactly what he did. And he called, it's the Bruce Springsteen Center for American Music. It used to be the Bruce Springsteen Archives. But he was very clear that he is just a chapter in the story of American music. But if his chapter can highlight the rest of the American music tradition, that's what he wants to do. And, he is a big fan. He said publicly, I'm not telling any tales out of school. He's very publicly a fan of Woody Guthrie, of Pete Seeger, of these storytellers in his tradition who have been so clear of purpose and who have made such important music in such important moments. It's one of the reasons part of the authoritarian playbook is go after the artists.
Yep. Hey, I really appreciate your time today. I love this conversation. I learned a lot. And it was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you, too. Thank you so much for having me on. And so much.
And God bless your city. It's standing for all of us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.